Good morning. This is Jo Flick at the Montana State Library, and we are going to be talking today with Travis at Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services about the public assistance programs in Montana, and more specifically about what libraries can do for patrons in terms of getting them to the right public service program and applying online or monitoring or reporting online. So all those things are stuff that Montana librarians have asked us at the state library to facilitate for them. We're hearing across the state of Montana that libraries are seeing a lot more individuals who do not have internet access come into the library to complete their forms for public assistance. So we're going to spend the day, a lot of time online today with Travis, kind of exploring these resources online and answering your questions about how to best help your patrons. So with that, Travis, if you're ready, I'll just turn things over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, I am ready. So if you just want to allow me to share my screen again, that'd be perfect.
It's coming your way.
All right, and just let me know when you have it.
We see the DPHHS site, Montana.
Do you want me to make that bigger, or is it okay for
I think it looks good, actually.
Okay, great. So a little bit about myself. My name's Travis Pilon. I've been with the department now for just over 6 years. My title is a regional manager, and then I'm also the training team manager. So here in Public Assistance Bureau, we've got 3 regions. We've got a central, we've got a western, and an eastern, and then we also have 6 tribal areas and 2 specialized units. So depending on the client that you're helping, it could fall into one of those areas. I know quite a bit about PAB, but I don't know as much about the work you guys do. So please, if there's certain things you want to know that tie into the job that you do, just please go ahead and ask. I think it'll make it a much more beneficial experience for everyone. So if anything I'm showing it doesn't make sense or you want to know more, just feel free to shout out your question or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and kind of jump into what I wanted to talk about. First, we'll talk a little bit about the services we provide. So as you guys are probably aware, you know, we do SNAP. We also do the TANF program, which is cash assistance, and then a lot of Medicaid. I'm not sure what the majority of the people you're helping are with, but I'm guessing it would probably be in that Medicaid or SNAP category.
Well, we can
go
ask.
ahead and talk.
I'd be interested to know. I mean, if you're online, can you put in the chat box if you have used or worked with any patrons with any of these services, which ones? So let's give them a second, Travis, and see what.
Yeah, no problem.
So we'll give everybody about 20 seconds or so. Not getting a lot of comments here. Oh, here we go. From Dylan, Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, TANF, everything, VA benefits even. Christine, LIAP and SNAP benefits.
Yeah, LIAP.
LIAP,
so
thank you.
Low-Income Energy Assistance Program.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Energy assistance as well. Well, thank you
Great.
okay, so you get an idea there. Oh, and Erin has arrived. Erin is just coming into the meeting today, and so maybe we'll take just a minute here. And Erin, I don't see. Well, wait, I don't see her her audio being active yet. But Erin Ducharme is also at the Department of Public Health and Human Services. We weren't sure she was going to be able to join us this morning, but she is at least online.
we can give her a second to get connected and introduce herself, if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So Erin, if you can hear us, you may need to unmute your microphone by clicking on the microphone icon, which is the round red button at the top of your control panel.
I know for me, I
There she
tried
is.
to dial in on the phone.
Erin, try talking.
Hi there, this is Erin.
We hear you. Great. Do you want to introduce yourself,
Morning.
Erin, just real briefly? We haven't really
Yeah.
gotten started yet. We were just kind of getting warmed up here.
Okay, great. I apologize for being a few minutes late. My name is Erin Ducharme. I'm the Bureau Chief for the Offices of Public Assistance. So we have 19 offices across the state with a little over 300 staff that determine eligibility for SNAP, which is food assistance, TANF, which is cash assistance, and then Medicaid. And so both Travis and myself are in Helena.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So going back to the chat, so you guys are seeing quite a few different avenues, and a lot of those are within DPHHS. Not all of those are within the Public Assistance Bureau, though, which is kind of our lane, I suppose you could say. So like energy assistance, that's with, we do have a program within DPHHS, but not actually within the Public Assistance Bureau that administers that. Same with LEAP as well. And I don't know, Erin, if you wanted to hit on those programs a little bit more or not.
And just to bring you up to speed, Erin, we did ask folks before you joined us to post in the chat the kinds of online assistance they are seeing their patrons ask for. And since you joined a little late, you might not see those actual things in your version of the chat box.
Okay. Yeah, and so everybody was trying to understand what else people could apply for online other than the programs that we determine eligibility for. Is that?
Well, we were just trying to get a feel for what libraries are experiencing out there in the field these days. And it turned out to be quite a long list, VA benefits even, and LEAP and energy assistance and beyond your bureau. But
Okay. Yeah, at this point we can't give you a lot of information beyond what our bureau administers. Like Travis said, LEAP and energy assistance is within our division, but outside our bureau. So we could definitely get information and send it out to you guys. But at this point today, primarily it would just be around the SNAP, TANF, and Medicaid that we determine eligibility for.
So we'll be sticking to that lane, Travis's lane, as we say. All right, take it away.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess we'll just start off with the apply.mt.gov website. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the self-service portal. Really, it's just an online avenue for clients to go to. From here, they can set up an account, they can apply for assistance, they can submit documentation for their case, they can renew their benefits, they can look at all of their mail. It's really just that, it's kind of like online banking, I guess, so to speak. They can pretty much see everything that's going on in their account from the self-service portal. And so what I wanted to do first was kind of walk through what it takes to create an account. So we'll start there. And everyone can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the website is apply.mt.gov. And once you go there, if the client you're working with needs to create an account, just click on this sign in / create an account. It uses ePass, so if they have an ePass account already, they can use that. And I believe ePass links up with like Department of Motor Vehicles and a few other things. I'm not 100% sure.
Our librarians are pretty familiar with ePass because we're now using that authentication for them to access our online library directory. So they submit annual reports and register for conferences and registered for this event using our ePass. So it's one thing librarians are pretty familiar with.
Awesome. So if the user has an ePass account, they can just use that. If they don't, they just click on the link that says you can create one here. And then that brings up essentially all the information required to create an account. And so to create an account, they'll just need an email address. And I know sometimes that can be a struggle with some of our clients, but if they want to use this service, they do have to have an email address. So you can set one up for them if that's something that you'd like to do if they don't have one. But once they have that email, then you can create the account. It's basically just first name, last name. You don't even have to put a phone number in, but then you got to put that email in and then pick a few security questions. And then at that point, just create the username and password. So that's how you create accounts. It's pretty simple. Any questions or anything on that?
Not seeing anything come into the chat box. And I should add, our librarians are often quite familiar with helping people who don't have and never have had an email account get one using Gmail or something similar. So I think that's
Great.
pretty straightforward.
Okay. So then I'm going to go back to apply.mt.gov. And just so everyone knows, everything that we'll be doing today will be done in what we call a lower environment. It's not a production environment. So what that means is that if we apply for assistance through this lower environment, it's not actually creating a real application. Everything we do will just be for the sake of demonstration, and all of the information that you'll see is not actual real human information. So just so everyone is aware of that. At this screen, so if you want to sign in and you've already got an account, you would just click here. If you want to apply now, you can click apply now. If you want to take a pre-screening to maybe see if you're potentially eligible, you can do this pre-screening tool. It's by no means an application, and it doesn't mean they will be eligible. It just is essentially a tool there to look at their household situation and then tell them, hey, it might be worth your while to apply. That's really all it is. Apply for assistance. This is the same as clicking apply now. Check my benefits. You'll see once we get into the actual portal that there's a few different tabs, and these tabs essentially just place you into those tabs. It's kind of like a shortcut, so to speak. So that's what all these do. This just takes you to the check my benefits tab. This takes you to the my mail tab, and this takes you to the report change and renew tab. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. The lower environment that we're in doesn't actually have a sign-on, and so it skipped that sign-on piece, but you guys already saw that previously. Basically, it's just the ePass information asking for your credentials. Once you've put those credentials in, then it just says, would you like to accept or not accept the confidentiality agreement? Basically, we just have to have this here, and if they want to use the SSP, they have to accept it. So you just click I accept, and then you're actually into the self-service portal. And these are the tabs at the top that I was just referring to. So once you get in here, it's got the My Applications tab pulled up. You see a lot of applications in here, and this isn't typically how it will look for one user. We use this lower environment for our training, and so we create all these applications so our new hires can then process these dummy applications. So that's why there's so many in here. Typically, one of our clients would maybe have 2 or 3 rows, depending on how many applications they've submitted. All this is saying is just the applications that they've submitted, it tracks them. So it has a record, basically.
Just going to jump in here, Travis. A couple questions in the chat box. One is, do they need the email to do the pre-screening?
I believe they do, but we can find out. Let me just test that out. No, it does not look like they need an email to do the pre-screening.
And this question from Miles City, is the Am I Eligible program specific? So as long as you're there.
Well, we can take it real quick. I've actually never done this, so let me find out. 0.
Leave it to librarians to give you good, hard questions.
No, that's good.
Well, we wanted this to be interactive, so keep those questions coming. So I see you're kind of answering the questions, so you kind of weighted a little bit toward being eligible for things.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it so it spits out eligible for multiple programs. That's what I'm going for here. How much money? Yeah, so it's very short and it is program specific. Based on the answers you provided, 1 or more people in your household may qualify for the benefits below: SNAP, TANF, health coverage. So SNAP, there's no income in the household that I just put in. TANF, there's a kid in the household under 19. And then Medicaid, we've got 2 people in the household that are potentially eligible for Medicaid. So it is program specific and it's pretty short and does not require an email address. Good question.
Thanks for that. It was a good question.
And then from here, you could just go straight into an application. That would most likely, that will require you to log in. So if you want to apply, you do have to actually create an account and log in.
But to go through the pre-screening and just figure that out, you can do that without putting in any personal information. Well, the data that you're going to put in, but nothing personally identifiable.
Exactly.
Helpful. Thanks.
You bet. Okay, so I guess I can kind of leave this up to you guys. We can go a few different routes here. I can show you how to link an account, or if you'd like, we could apply for assistance. First off, I guess, what do you guys want to see? I can show you all of it, but is there a certain order you'd like to see it in, or certain things that you're curious about?
Well, and in thinking of patrons that you have in the library, what kinds of questions or assistance have you been called on, or what would you like to know? Give Travis a task. We'll give everybody a chance to type Travis. They'll be in there.
Okay, no problem. Can we apply for assistance first? Absolutely.
Thank you, Sonia.
Let's go ahead and. Yep.
Yes, apply for assistance.
So there's a couple ways to do that. Apply for assistance at the top, and then just at the top here, or from that home page. There's a couple different ways. So just click the apply for assistance link at the top. And then essentially it tells you like you're ready to start your application. Here's some helpful hints, things that they're going to need information about. If at any given time though they don't have this information, you can always save your application and come back to it. So it is pretty user friendly. This just kind of tells them it can take 30 to 60 minutes to complete the application. You can start and then save it. It can take up to 30 or 45 days to make a decision on your application. That's just the federal processing guidelines. So we've got 30 days for SNAP and TANF, and we have 45 days for Medicaid. If an interview is required or more information is needed, the public assistance will contact the client, and then fields noted with an asterisk are required. So we can go ahead and hit next. So first, it wants to know about household composition and who is, completing the application. Up at the top here, you're going to have the few different modules that you have to go through to complete the application. So we'll just go ahead and start with who's completing the application. If you were filling this out right there with the client, you could put as self. If you were like an authorized representative on someone's case, then you could put authorized representative. Or maybe this would be more appropriate for you guys, staff person or volunteer at an agency. All right, so then it's just going to ask which programs we would like to apply for. You can, if it's specifically just Medicaid, they would just select Medicaid or health coverage. If it's SNAP, just check SNAP, or TANF, just check TANF, or you can do all three. We can just do all three for the sake of the demonstration. So when you select health coverage, a few other boxes come up. That's just because there's so many different health coverage programs. We're trying to determine which avenue that this client would fall into. So essentially, is it for a nursing home or a waiver service? If it's yes, check the box. Is it for an aged, blind, or disabled program? So that would be why it's asking if they're 65 or older or blind or disabled. And then this checkbox is related to retro coverage. So we will provide retroactive health coverage for folks if they're eligible for the 3 months prior to their application month. I'm not going to check any of those boxes. I'll just leave them all blank and hit next. You can see at the top it tracks where you're at in terms of completion percentage. Like I said, you can always save your application and come back to it. This just gives general information on each one of the programs that they're applying for. I'm not going to read through all of these unless you think that's necessary.
I don't think so. Can move on.
Okay. All right, so now we're to the About You screens. So basically the client will just start filling in the information about themselves. So I will make all this information up. Anything with the red asterisk is required, so they could get through these screens without submitting some of the boxes. Social Security number. This one is not required, but it does make it hard on our workers if we don't have it. I know a lot of people get fearful of submitting their social security number, especially using an online resource. But if you are working with clients, and obviously they don't have to do it, but if you could please encourage them to submit it, it can definitely speed up the process of their determination.
And I can jump in here. Every state employee gets regular training on ethics training and rules and laws about handling personally identifiable information like this. We get cybersecurity training. So if that's at all reassuring.
Yes, absolutely.
I can also add that under state law and policies, agencies are really encouraged not to collect any information that isn't essential.
Absolutely. So mailing address, this is only necessary if, they're getting their mail somewhere different than where they're living. Contact information, none of this is required as well, but it's super helpful if they can provide it. I mean, if they don't give us a phone number, then we have to send a correspondence saying, we don't have any way to get a hold of you. Can you please supply us with a phone number or call us at our helpline? So just all of this information, some of it, although it's not required, if they don't submit it, it really slows the process down. And we'll hit next, get through this. So this just gives information on expedited benefits. That's a SNAP deal. So essentially, if your expenses are more than the money that's coming in, yet under a certain threshold, you can potentially be eligible for expedited. And if it's expedited, what that basically means is that we don't require the verification up front. We get those benefits out the door, and then they just have to provide the verifications to us at a later date. So this is just a screening, is basically what it's doing here. I'm just going to put 500. $0 in resources, and we'll say we pay $7.50 in rent, and then we also have to pay our heat, water, garbage. That should do it. So the reason it's asking those questions is we give an allowance for the SNAP program, and so if they have to pay their heating or cooling, then they automatically qualify for the standard utility allowance. So this amount doesn't really matter a whole lot because we put heat up here, they're going to qualify for that standard utility allowance, which is more than most people pay in heating bills typically.
A question in the chat box, how do they provide verification documentation that you're going to be requiring of them?
We have multiple different avenues that they can provide it. So they can submit it through this self-service portal. They can also go into any of our offices. We can actually get that verification for them if they allow us the ability to do that. We can call landlords, employers. We also have various interfaces like the work number where we can go out and just check and see if the information they provided us with is correct. Or if not, I mean, they really just have to turn in to us the information that we need.
So if they have a paper copy of a pay stub, they can just take a photograph of that and upload it That's how it's done?
They can do it that way, yeah.
Okay.
Just need to make sure that like the picture has, you know, obviously that we can read it and that it contains, like it's not cut off or anything like that. It has all the information we need. So this is just the household member summary. You'll see these summary screens pop up often throughout this application process. It's basically just saying, please review the answers that you supplied us with and make sure they're correct. If they're not correct, please go back and edit them. At this point, we can just say, yep, looks good, hit next. And now it wants to know about people in our home. No, just going to kind of go through some of this a little bit faster. So if you miss something that's required, it just gives you that exclamation point and says, please choose the place of birth before moving to the next screen.
You meant to do that, right? Just so we could see how that works. Clever. Okay, another question in the chat box. What if they do not have copies of their paperwork? Many of our patrons do not have these things. So if there's some documentation that is missing, you mentioned that you can call former employer or an employer, or do you have an example, Sonia? This is a question from Miles City. Something specific. If they're missing a piece of documentation, how do you handle that?
It's not critical when they apply. It's definitely helpful.
Oh, like transient population, people who are and just moving through Montana or just coming into town and in their car and run out of gas and resources. And
it just kind of depends on what it is, because
okay.
we are required by our federal regulations. You know, there's certain things that we have to verify. We'll try our best to verify those things, but at the end of the day, it is the client's, you know, requirement and responsibility to essentially verify certain things. And so we do have some avenues. Like I mentioned, we've got some interfaces that we can verify things. If it's like their identity, we can verify that through some interfaces. Sometimes income we can verify, not 100% of the time. We can try and call landlords. We can try and call employers. It's not always guaranteed that the employer or the landlord will turn over that information to us. So we try, and we certainly will do our best to get the client help. But I guess it does kind of boil down to, you know, if it is required for eligibility, then it is the responsibility of the client to supply us with that information.
So your advice is go ahead and start the application process, provide what you can, and if possible, make sure you have an email so you can be connected. The person can come back to the library to check that email even if they don't have a phone. And then while they're at the library, they can be in touch with you, and hopefully through these follow-up measures, that documentation can be attained either by you or by the client somehow. Because they won't get help without it at certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll send notices that outline everything that we need.
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick, I think that that's a really good point, that they should apply as soon as they have a need or or realize that they need to apply for the benefits, because what that does is it saves their application date. And so if I were to apply today on the 11th, but I don't turn in my documents until the 20th of March, my benefits are actually going to go all the way back to the 11th.
Oh, good point.
So yeah, so it is really important that they apply as soon as they have a need, and then we work through the process. If they have it all up front, it's a quicker process. But if they don't and they turn it in later, it's still okay, because we'll go back to that application date. For SNAP benefits, they have to have everything in within 30 days from the date of the application for us to go back to that date of application. For Medicaid, it's 45 days. And then for the TANF cash benefits, it's 30 days. So cash, TANF and SNAP are 30 days, and we go back to that original date as long as they submit stuff within 30 days. And then Medicaid is 45.
And a follow-up question from our director in Miles City: what do you have a field representative in the Miles City area?
We do. Yep, we've got an office in Miles City. Donna Orthman is the field operations manager there, and I believe she's got a staff of about 6 to 8 people.
And I'll maybe ask you for where to find information on where your field offices are at some point. I'll make a note to remind you about that. Oh, you're going to go there right now?
The easiest way to do it that I've found is just, if you do a search, OPA Montana, we're essentially the first thing that comes up. Office of Public Assistance, click on that, and it brings up all of the field offices that we have and all of their necessary information, so address, email, all that.
So everybody,
So
right now, do a quick search for OPA Montana and then bookmark this page, because it does have a kind of wonky URL up there. You know what? If you can copy that URL and put it in the chat box, then everybody will have it.
There it is.
And I'll make sure, if you're watching the recording, this is Joe, I will make sure that this link is in the description of our program today. Thanks, Travis.
You bet. So I know we're supposed to be done at noon here, so I'll try and kind of pick up a little bit of pace here as we go through the application. Feel free again just to shoot those questions in if you have them. So health condition, this can essentially, if they do have this, then they might not have to pay a premium. That's why we ask that. Student status, this can change your SNAP benefit amount. That can make you ineligible. Same with this. So all of these questions have a purpose for us. That's why they're being asked. Just based on different policies. So again, this is just a summary screen of the household member or members. It's just basically saying, please review your answers. If they're okay, you can go ahead and click next, which they are. All right, so liquid resources, basically, do we have any money in any accounts? We're going to say no. This is just basically that same screen again, saying, okay, is this right? Now we're into other resources such as vehicles, real estate, personal property like tools and livestock, things like that. some of our programs have a resource limit, so that's why we ask those questions. Get next to this. Okay, now we're on to income. We're getting closer, 60%. So I'm going to say that Billy has a job. And I'm going to hit next. Now it's going to ask me about his job. Part-time job. We'll say Billy started this a while ago. This how he gets paid is pretty important, so please try to get that correct for us. This is kind of the big question here. We need to know if it's like weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, twice monthly, all that.
So is that, I mean, if he's part-time, he might work different number of hours each week or each month. So would be like a typical month?
Just try to fill it in to the best of their ability. We're going to have to do an interview anyways for the most part.
Okay.
Anything SNAP or SNANF related, so we'll get those questions answered later on down the road. But try to fill it in as best as you can. Summary for the income. We can next through that. Okay, does he have money from any other sources? Child support, no. Supplemental Social Security income, no. Social Security benefits, no. Basically, is there any other income out there? Next through this. Housing and utility bills. So this is asking, like, does he pay rent or anything like that? Yeah, she does have utilities. Okay, so now it wants to know about his housing bills. We're going to say he pays rent. I think we put $750 at the start.
That's right. I remember $750 and this.
$150. So now the utility bills. We said heat.
So if someone walks into the library and they just don't have any of this information with them, we can skip it and come back to it later.
Totally. Yep. So this is that standard utility expense that I mentioned earlier. We'll just say yes, they do have to, or they do pay for heating or cooling. And then are they approved for the Low Income Energy Assistance Program or LEAP? If yes, select yes. If no, select no. If they're on LEAP though, then they are eligible for that standard utility allowance. This is the summary screen. And this is just other bills. We're going to say he doesn't have any. And another summary screen. Okay, so this wants to know about school. We're going to say he's not in school. And this is authorized representative information, so if they have someone that they want to be an authorized representative on their case, you would fill that out here. We see this a lot with the elderly population, a lot of folks that are applying for the nursing home programs and things like that. This is the last summary screen. We're going to go ahead and hit next. And then if there's any additional information that they want to put in there, sometimes folks will just say like, hey, I work 8 to 5. It'd be nice if I could get a call over the lunch hour. Sometimes they'll just put other information in there that they weren't able to put during the application process. They don't have to put anything in this, so. And then this is them signing their application. And so it goes through all of their rights and responsibilities. Just kind of long, but they do need to read through these. Kind of some disclaimers. Then it talks about their interviews. So people who are applying for SNAP or TANF must have an interview. Now we can do those over the phone or at the local office. And then, do you expect any changes within the next 3 months? You can say no. If yes, just put yes and then explain what.
So if someone is a long ways away from a local office and they don't have a phone, how do you conduct? Can they do the interview like online at the local library? Is that an option?
We do have to have like.
So they might have to use the library phone to do it.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if anybody has had that experience or not. Maybe somebody online has had that experience, but just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no problem. And then voter registration, we're required to put this on there. So whatever they want to select there. And then this is the signature declaration. So basically, they declare that everything they put on the application is true and all of that. They check the box, and then they type in their name.
And that's their electronic signature.
That's right. So this just would link their account if they select yes here. They can also still link their account without doing it. And I'm going to show you that process. So I'm not going to say yes. And then they click submit. And in real time, this application will show up on the eligibility workers side of things in our program called Chime. And so,
well, there's a comment in the chat box related to the interview. This is from Dylan, that they do let a client, one of your clients, their patrons, use the phone for their interviews. And that's a bit of a problem for libraries that have a landline phone and only one line coming in, which is most of our libraries, because it does tie up the line for a half an hour or so. So that's something maybe we can, an online interview is something that many libraries would be able to accommodate easier. Just for your information, Erin, as bureau chief, it might be nice to be able to provide that option sometime in the future, not too distant future, maybe.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Thank you.
and then just also for the Dylan folks, we do provide outreach to that community every other week. We send 2 workers down there on Wednesdays, and so that would be an option too. They could go actually meet with a person.
Do their interview that way. Yeah, that's good to know.
So this is basically just showing them.
No,
go ahead.
You finish first, Travis, and then I'll jump back in.
Okay, so this is just their record. They get this thing called a T number that tracks it. So if for some reason they haven't heard anything on their application, it's important for them to print this off. This will allow them to print their PDF of their application as well, so they can have record They don't have to do that. They can come back into the self-service portal at any time and get the PDF application as well. But if they want that hard copy, they can print it from here. They can also upload their documents here. So let's say they just said, okay, I work at Burger King, and they happen to have those pay stubs on them. They can upload those here. So we really try to make it user-friendly here. And then we also have a survey just to fill out if they enjoyed their experience, or even if they didn't, I suppose. So that is the application process. Now,
So
Joanne,
that does take a lot, quite a bit of time. I mean, if some of our libraries do have sort of limits on computer use, and I could see where an applicant might spend an hour, or close to it, or to even get through this the first time, taking their time thinking about things and making sure they're answering things correctly and reading everything is going to take time. So it's something for our libraries to consider if somebody is working on this, that they might waive the 30-minute limit on the computer. Some of our libraries have limits if there are people waiting. So just something for you guys to think about. And a follow-up question from Sonia out in Miles City was just wondering how big a region, how many counties does, say, the Miles City office cover? I mean, we know that you've closed several offices around the state, so.
So how we handle our work across the state is we divide it by 3 regions. And so we have a western region, a central region, and an eastern region. And so Miles City actually contributes to working individuals' cases from basically all the way up around Glasgow to all the way down around Bozeman. It's the whole eastern side of the state. And so someone in Bozeman may be working something for Miles City, and someone in Miles City may be working something for Glasgow. We really divide it based on a region in the state, and it's a shared workload among that region.
So even though there may be more than one service center in that region, they might get called for their interview by someone.
Yeah, and when they call into our centralized phone system, they may get someone from Miles City, or they may not, depending. They may get somebody from Billings. It just depends. Now, if you walk into a local office, you're obviously going to be served by that individual in that local office. But if you're doing work on the self-service portal, the online website, over the phone, typically those will be handled as a region.
Yeah, Sonia's just saying sometimes that's confusing for people applying, so it's helpful for libraries to understand that so they can explain it. Basically, you're trying to make sure that everybody's busy and that the workload is shared across all of your staff.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So I guess at this point we're looking for more questions.
Yep, and I would like to show one other thing too, if I could.
Better do it, because we got 3 minutes, Travis.
All right. So I just want to show you guys how to link an account. We get a lot of questions on this, and so basically people will have applied through the SSP, but then they haven't linked their account yet. And so a lot of times they'll see this red error message in the My Benefits tab. Essentially, what it's saying is, well, you don't have any benefits because no cases have been associated to your account. So to make an association, please select the Manage My Account button. There's one right here on this page, or in the top left, it's always there. So it's highly important, though, that when they try to link their account, they have their information entered in exactly as it is in our system. Sometimes on their applications, they'll, typo their name or date of birth or something like that. And so then when they come here and they're trying to link it, it'll tell them no. And I'll show you what I mean by that. but basically it has to be exactly as it appears in Chimes. And so if it doesn't, if there's something wrong, then they need to get a hold of us to fix that wrong piece of data. And as I mentioned earlier, none of this is actual PI, so don't worry about that. Whoops. I didn't mean to hit enter, sorry. Okay, so that's all the correct information. So it pulled up this case. It says, hey, look, we found your case. If you want to link it, hit the circle and click link case. Now watch what happens when I change this from an E to an I. Even though everything else is correct, it's still saying, nope, your search results could not be found because everything wasn't correct. So it's highly important that when they go to link, they've got all the correct information as it is in our system. So to link it, you just select, click link case, and then you get the congratulations, your case has been successfully linked to your account. It's going to ask them how they want to receive their mail. They can do US mail and email, or just email only. We've been trying to encourage people to get email, but again, it's going to be their preference. So who can see your case? If there was multiple people on this case, you'd be able to add in like the wife, the girlfriend, whatever it may be, the daughter, the son. It's basically just like a security. If you want everyone to be able to see your case from the self-service portal, then you could add them in here. So that was what I wanted to show. I guess we're right at time, so is there any other questions?
Just one, and that is if a client speaks to someone for their interview, will they always be speaking with that same person, Erin, or they are, so is that a case manager always assigned to them?
No, it isn't. Again, that would be kind of who they get, whether they walk into the office, call in on the phone. It will be whoever receives it at that point within that region.
So they may always be dealing with a different person each time.
Yes.
So I want to thank you both, Erin and Travis, for taking time out from your busy schedules. I know things are really busy, a lot busier than when we scheduled this a month or so ago. And just thank you so much for walking us through this. And I'm absolutely sure that you will help our librarians a lot better understand how to help their patrons. So thanks very much.
And I would like to thank all of you guys for truly helping us as well. Our goal is to serve as many people that have the need, and with our office closures, it got more difficult to make sure we were meeting that need. So we appreciate all of your guys' help, and feel free to reach out whenever if you guys have a question or if there's something not working right, because we really do appreciate you helping us out to make sure that people are getting the benefits that they're needing.
And I'll just add that, you know, our job at the state library is to make sure you get the information you need to be able to do these jobs, some of them newer jobs in your library world. So please let us know what kinds of training and what kinds of resources we can provide to help you as well. So thanks all. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.